For a while now, I've wanted to do a bike trip, but just haven't had a good opportunity. When my cousins reached out for a get-together weekend at the family cottage, I knew it was the perfect time. 1,000 kilometers round trip. The only complication was that I had a job. So I put the trip in the back of my head as another thing I wanted to do, but couldn't. Weeks passed until there was only 9 days left till the cottage meetup. I made the difficult decision to quit my job and leave my girlfriend for 2.5 weeks to go on this adventure. I would like to head out, but it's raining a little too much right now, so I'll wait a bit. See you later, Montreal. As I was leaving Montreal, I saw a man with a fully loaded bike who seemed to be going in the same direction as me. We talked for a while and then decided to bike together. Erwin treated me to coffee and stories of his 3-week tour of northern Quebec. He was craving chocolate, and I just so happened to be carrying half a kilogram of some stuff from his home country, although he disagreed on its authenticity. We got along well and rode together for 90 kilometers until we reached his destination. We said a quick goodbye and then headed our separate ways. I'm on a really quiet section of road right now. It's 6:20, so I'm looking for a campsite, hoping to find one soon because it'll be dark in an hour. I am now in Ontario. Oh no, the road changed. I like that road more. Still gotta find somewhere to camp. It's 6:30 now. This trail's pretty rough going. Really big rocks. But I'm hoping to camp in that forest up ahead that you can't really see. I'm not supposed to be on this path. It's meant for dirt bikes and quads and snowmobiles in the winter, but it doesn't look like it's been used for that for a bit, so I'm gonna take it. And then in the next town it becomes a official bike trail. I think this is the spot for the night. It's right along the trail. I slept like I camped in a tent in the middle of a field. Not bad, I got some sleep. There was no real bad noises last night, but I didn't get a great sleep. Great area though. It's tempting to just start cycling, but all the gear's wet right now, so I'll wait for that sun to come up and burn off all the dew. Because I'll just get soaking wet if I start biking right now. My goal for this day was to reach Ottawa, where I would stay the night with family friends Jeremy and Bruce. Ottawa was 130 kilometers away, so I had to do my longest, fully loaded bike ride to date. So I'm biking along this nice trail, and I found a friend. The Quaker man. He's just watching me for the whole trip. That's okay. I'm just taking a break from the rail trail. It's just over there on that mound. Just tired of focusing on bumps and going so slow. It's too hot out to go slow and focus like that, so I'm on this nice smooth parallel road. Very quiet. Today's just kind of a boring day. I think I have to do 120 kilometers. Pretty tired. I got enough water though, water and food, so should be good for a bit. By the time I reached Ottawa, I was spent and hungry. Thinking only about food, I rolled through an intersection just as another absent-minded SUV driver rolled a stop sign. They ended up clipping my side pannier off my bike. Then they drove by me and gave me a funny face and proceeded to drive over my tent bag while holding eye contact.
Definitely not the warm welcome I was expecting to the capital of Canada. Finally reaching the night's accommodation, Jeremy and Bruce treated me to hot dogs and hamburgers, while their little dog Marcia did her best to bite my Achilles heel off. It's a nice cool day in Ottawa. Hoping to do a lot less than 130 kilometers today. Hopefully end around Perth. This section of the pathway just leaving Ottawa is really pretty. They did some nice landscaping on the side, little shrubs. But you can definitely see the color of the trees starting to change. This section of the trail between Ottawa and Perth is actually really nice. Lots of the leaves are changing color and crackling on the ground, so it's pretty nice. I think those are the biggest solar panels I've ever seen. They were probably built a while ago because I don't think that sort of construction is feasible. That's my life today. Corn. Speaking of which, don't worry, I paid for it. I think this is probably all cow corn. But that one's sweet corn. Yay. This is a bit of a funny, unique situation. I'm in Perth, Ontario, and they have this park called Last Duel Park. But up until recently it was a campground. You can see all the little spots, and it's a really beautiful campground, so it's interesting. I talked to some local people and they said should be fine to camp around here tonight. And like even the water faucets and the bathroom is still open and working. So it's just a interesting park. I'll have the whole campground to myself. Very unique. On one hand, this trail sucks because I'm averaging 12 kilometers an hour, but going through spots like this, it's pretty peaceful. But I haven't seen anyone in 2 hours, so I keep looking behind me to see if there's a bear or something. Nothing so far. I saw a cat. That's it. At this convenience store, I told the woman working that I had been sleeping outside. She was pretty concerned and told me that I should pick up a big knife or axe because there are bears in the area and that since it's fall, they're hungry. Little did I know how right she was. I've just about had it. I wanted to get off the rail trail for a bit and take some smoother roads, but I ended up on this. And I'm only 36 kilometers away from my destination for the night, but at this speed I'm estimating it'll take 5.5 hours, and it's already 12:30 and I'm absolutely spent. I've only done like 35 kilometers today, and I left at 9 in the morning, so it's just too much today. At this cafe, I met a nice woman named Nicole. She's an avid hiker and said that if I was passing through Kingston at any point in the trip, I could pitch my tent in her backyard. After this nice chat, I felt much better and continued on to my uncle's cottage. Really pretty area, lots of little islands. I gotta friggin' hustle to get to the cottage now. Had a long break at a cafe, talked to some nice people, gave me advice about the treacherous highways. I think I'm just gonna stick on this trail, even though it's slow. It's really starting to look like fall out here. Lots of the trees are all ready. Well, this is something I wasn't prepared to deal with. I think it's about 30 minutes back. But if you ever do a trip like this, going back is like one of the hardest things you can do. So I guess I'm gonna take off my shoes. I think he's suntanning. I finally made it to my uncle's cottage. It's only about 75 kilometers away from where I started this morning, but it was a really hard day. There was so much, so many hills, a lot of wind. Really challenging day. I'm really tired and hoping that the rest is easier because I'm not there yet and I gotta get back. So I'm gonna think of options of how to get back in an easier way because right now this is too hard. I brought this piece of corn all the way from Ottawa, so I hope it's good. I'm just gonna douse it in Tim Hortons butter that I got along the way. This guy's pretty big. Hello. I've never been so happy to see asphalt. I think I'm done taking this trail. It's a ATV track, not a bicycle trail. Don't recommend it at all. Unless, of course, you're on an ATV or a dirt bike, then it's probably fun.
Guess where I can't.
Let's hope I don't get robbed. Boner law. I'm basically at the final approach to the cottage and it has been a crazy long trip. Like 6 days of biking straight, no rest days. Every time I like flex my calf, it feels like it's gonna split. So it'll be good to rest for 3 nights before I head home. "500 kilometers and 6 days later, I made it." I finally have a chance to dry out all my camping gear after 6 days on the bike. I'll be glad to pack it away for 3 days. All of it's holding up really well. Thank you, Sarah, for lending us the tent. Us as in me. And then the tarp from Canadian Tire's still doing good.
2 nights of sleeping at the cottage did not make me forget how difficult the trip had been so far. I was looking for any shortcut to make the trip home shorter. Hitchhiking, taking a train or plane, anything was on the table. Earlier in the trip, Nicole offered me her backyard to sleep in, so I was aiming to get to her house in Kingston, then figure out what to do about the 400 kilometers separating me from home.
This is my first day heading back from the cottage with all the cousins, and it's tough because right to my right are the train tracks that could take me home in less than a day on the passenger rail network, but they don't allow bikes, so can't take my bike. That's just via rail for you. Yeah. So instead I got a bike for 6 days. This is just the town I need. Nice waterfront park in Kingston. Just over the hill. This part of the trail is way better than on the way to the cottage. That's the Kingston jail. It's pretty cool. Got a nice beach all to myself. I'm just waiting out a bit of rain in a cemetery. It's a pretty nice one, nice and quiet. Lots of big trees. I'm just before the town of Gananoque, and then hopefully I can get to a campground after that. I'm just cycling along looking for a spot to camp now. It would be so perfect to camp on a little island like that. Or that.
After setting up my tent, I started to hear these loud huffing noises. I was hiding inside my tent, shitting my pants, cursing myself for not putting my food up a tree. I didn't think there were bears in the area, so I had left my food bag under my bike 1 meter away from my tent. Thinking my death was inevitable, I jumped out of my tent with my bicycle lock in hand to use as a makeshift caveman club. I scanned the area and could only make out the shifting of tree branches in the twilight. I grabbed my food bag from below my bike and ran to a tall tree and chucked it up into the foliage. I was panicking, contacting my girlfriend with 1 bar of signal to ask her which bears were in the area and what I should do for that type of bear. She reassured me that it was probably only a black bear and would be done foraging within an hour. So I laid awake for a while until exhaustion put me to sleep. I packed up early and got it out of there as fast as I could. You can tell from this photo of how much of a rush I was in.
Last night was really bad. At around like 7:50 p.m. there was a lot of huffing of a big animal nearby, probably 20 meters away. So I jumped out of the tent looking for it because it was just twilight. Still a bit of light. And I couldn't see it through the bushes, but I could still hear the huffing. I had a bad sleep, but at least I have a good spot to eat breakfast.
Nicole contacted me and said that if I could make it 120 kilometers, I would have another backyard to sleep in. She had friends in Long Sault that would be able to put me up for the night. With the reassurance of a safe place to sleep, I pushed on until the rain forced me to stop under a bridge. When the rain finally subsided, I continued, stopping in Brockville for a great pesto sandwich. I eventually made it to the address Nicole had given me. I knocked on the front door of this rural farmhouse, and a middle-aged woman answered the door with a big smile and invited me in. She fed me a huge ham and potato meal, followed by apple crisp and vanilla ice cream, all while her husband told me the history of the area. He told me about the lost villages of the St. Lawrence River. 10 communities were flooded, and 6,500 people were permanently displaced by the creation of the St. Lawrence Seaway in 1958. This huge public project involved moving railroads, highways, homes, churches, and even building bridges in place before the planned flooding occurred. Leaving this beach, I was stopped by a large French-Italian woman who was curious about where I was going. I told her about my trip and that I was looking to camp somewhere just before Montreal. She told me about this island and she shook my hand. While still holding my hand, she asked if I was single because she had 3 daughters and was looking to matchmake me with one of them. She even said I could pick which one. I politely said I had a girlfriend and thanked her for her offer. Biking around the island, I found a nice place to camp, but it was still early in the day. I could see Montreal off in the distance and thought maybe, just maybe I could get there tonight. After mulling it over and having dinner, I thought it was worth a shot and started biking after already having done 100 kilometers. Darkness was fast approaching, and the highway I was biking on was becoming increasingly unsafe. Enough was enough, and I decided to stop and set up camp in a small park. With only 50 kilometers left, I biked the final leg of the trip home. Arriving in the early afternoon, I was glad that it was finally over. 1,000 kilometers and 2 weeks on the bike. It was a great experience filled with good human interactions, beautiful scenery, and scary wildlife. Most of all, it showed me that I could do it. I could bike for days on end, and in the end, what's the difference between 2 weeks and 2 months?
Just a little outro for anyone that's interested. This trip cost me $300 total, and that was just spent on food at grocery stores and 1 or 2 restaurants. I didn't spend any money on accommodations because I was just sleeping outside, or some people invited me in, and that's it. Thank you very much for watching, and have a good day.